Hi guys! Welcome back to my first time playthrough. Actually, just kidding. We're done. We finished. We finished. And it was so fun. We finished with my first time playthrough of Ocarina of Time. Since we finished Ocarina of Time, I decided I wanted to try and do a Q&A slash just a summary of all of my thoughts and feelings about the game. I don't want to call it a review because I don't really review games. I just play them, enjoy them, or I rage quit and never play something again. So, um, I am gonna just be going through a bit of like what I was thinking about the game, and then we're gonna jump into some questions that I got because I did like a little Q&A post over on the community tab. So yeah, okay, so let's start from, I guess, the very beginning. Like, how the heck is it 2024 and I grew up around this system, grew up around these games? How did I not play it? How did I avoid spoilers? And, I honestly, I don't know. I don't know how I didn't see spoilers. I think it's just because growing up, like when I was like a little kid, the game like first came out, it was too scary. It was too difficult. I probably ran around in the forest once and then never touched it again because I couldn't figure out how to get anywhere. And my interest in it there just stopped. As for why I avoided spoilers or just anything about the game is because I kind of developed, I guess, a bias against the game. I mean, don't hang on, don't freak out. Like, I ended up playing other Zelda games. Like, I played The Wind Waker and I played Twilight Princess, and those became my nostalgic childhood staples of the series. And I still really, really love those games, but it kind of felt like I had a little bit of a bias against Ocarina of Time because it kind of felt like it didn't matter. And I mean, this is me being kind of dramatic here, but it's something that felt like I experienced, was that it felt like it didn't matter how many Legend of Zelda games I played. I wasn't a quote true fan since I hadn't played and beat Ocarina of Time. And because I had these feelings, I was just like, I was so annoyed at the game because I had heard that so many times about like, oh my gosh, you haven't played Ocarina of Time. Like, how did you miss that? How have you played other games and you haven't played this one? Blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So I had some type of like negative feelings towards the game that made me not really want to give it a chance. So I also had a big fear of getting stuck. I was really worried that we've gotten so accustomed to newer games and how they have very detailed tutorials and in-game hints for like telling you where to go and what to do. And I was worried about this like older game standard of how it doesn't really have any sort of like player hand holding, which I actually came to really appreciate. It allowed me to just explore wherever the heck I wanted to explore. I mean, it was kind of a similar feeling as like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, where they give you a little bit of a tutorial and then they just set you free. And it's just, I don't know, I really appreciated that. My other fear was, what if I don't like it? Like, what if after all these years, what if I start playing it and I start doing this series and I actually end up just like getting bored or hating the game? I was scared. I was like, there was such a high bar that this game set, and like the expectations, like all the reviews that people had for it. I was like, what if I just end up not liking it? Because I feel like my taste in games can be a little weird sometimes. So, those were the things that kind of stopped me from playing it. However, that's a lot of negativity, but however, I actually really loved the game. Like, I really enjoyed it. I am very determined to learn and go by and learn how to play an ocarina. I'm very inspired to do that. I'm sure everybody went through a phase like that. But I think what I realized, what was funny to me, is that I didn't realize there were a lot of elements from both Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, which are my favorites and probably still are. But I didn't realize how many of my loved elements from those games were rooted in Ocarina of Time. So it was kind of fun being able to experience that, like, and then like I one of the things I love about the Wind Waker is the actual Wind Waker and being able to control the wind using music and stuff like that. And that felt very reminiscent of using the ocarina to do different things. Also, being able to hear the different songs and realize that I've heard them in Twilight Princess, I got to kind of experience the music and stuff in like a backwards way, but it was kind of special to me. Like, it allowed me to experience what I loved about those games and being able to see the origins of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Now, one thing that kind of surprised me about the game was how long it actually took me. It took me 43 hours to beat this game. which hang on before I don't know. Which I did look up on how long to beat, and the leisurely playtime is around 40 hours or 43 hours. So I mean, I'd say I played it pretty leisurely, and if I were to play through it again, I'm 100% sure it wouldn't take me that long. Also, I just thought it was kind of funny that 43 hours, that's how long it took me to beat things like Final Fantasy 15. So I mean, playing at a leisurely pace, like there is a ton of content in this game. Like it's kind of crazy for an N64 game. Okay, so now for some of the Q&As that will also allow me to explain more of my thoughts about the game. So Doc, I'm gonna mess up everybody's names, but I'll just abbreviate if I am unsure. So Doc asked, what do you think of the music? What were your favorite tracks? How did the side quests compare to side quests in other Zelda games? So let me start with the music. So as far as my favorite game music, you can probably guess. One of the first ones that really stood out to me, and it's just, even though I did my first playthrough in 2024, it still feels nostalgic. It's just kind of like a breath of fresh air when you hear it. I don't know. And the way that they incorporate the ocarina into it is just so pretty. And I think it's even better when you hear the little horse trotting along as well. It gives this air of like, it gives this mysterious air, and you're just like, I don't know, it gets you excited for the adventure you're about to go on, even though it's a very calming tune. The second favorite song for me is also something that kind of like gets you excited about the adventure, is Kokiri Forest. Like this opening, it's kind of ominous, but then it switches and it's something happy. It's just so happy and innocent, just like Child Link before he gets shoved into this dark, dangerous, world-saving adventure. My third favorite song is the Temple of Time. I don't have much thoughts about it. It's very striking and hauntingly beautiful, and I don't know, I really enjoyed hearing it when I first walked into the temple. My fourth favorite song would probably be, and I feel like people would be upset if I didn't include this one, but it truly is something I enjoy. It's Gerudo Valley. It's so fun. It's so, I don't know. It it's so fun to listen to. I don't know what it is. I mean, I could sit here and listen to it and jam out to it. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't mind having it just play on loop while I do stuff. Okay, and my last favorite song that I enjoyed hearing was Ganon's Tower. It was made like 10 times more amazing when I saw that Ganon was the one playing it. I'm like, you have to be the best kind of villain if you can play your own evil theme song. It's so good. I also just love the contrast between I also just love the contrast between the version of Ganon's Tower in this game and the version of Ganon's Castle that I knew from Wind Waker. So like this one's much more like powerful. This one's like intimidating. It's, I don't know, it like it makes you scared, right? Very well, no. Like this one is just so powerful and intimidating, and like he knows that he almost has his victory, right? But then we switch to something like Ganon's Castle from the Wind Waker, and it's a much different mood. I mean, I know that having it be via piano affects the mood, but this is much more melancholy, and it's still kind of like haunting. But I don't know, I really, really like it. Oh, and then you have this part with like the whiny kind of, I don't know what is making that noise, but it adds to like the chilling effect, the chilling feelings that you get as you hear this song. Now, as for the ocarina songs, my favorite is probably the Nocturne of Shadow. I think it's just because I've always really loved minor key music. It's what I was always drawn to when I used to play the piano. And it's just pretty. Like there's not much else to it. I do like that it ends on a good note though. A close second would probably be the Serenade of Water though. I think that's a harp that's in it, and that just, I don't know, just adds to how magical it feels when you first learn it. Okay, so for the next question, both Cube Base and Cheese Nacho asked kind of similar questions. Cube asked, do you think it deserves the spot as one of the best games in history? And Cheese asked, so we know this is probably the most iconic game in the saga. After playing it, do you feel like it deserves such praise and recognition? Like, what aspects do you think made it stand out like that? And I want to start by saying yes, I do think it deserves the recognition and a spot as one of the best games, even though it's not necessarily considered my favorite slash best game of all time. I think it's very clear how much of an impact this game had on the whole series and on 3D adventure games in general. I feel like it set standards really high for player enjoyment and the creativity and the skills necessary for making future games. As for specific aspects, I think the amount of content that was packed into the game is insane. Like, there's so many dungeons in this game. There's so many layers to it. Like, it's not just the first like 3D Zelda game of its kind, but like it's a great story and it has like it's a great puzzle game. It has amazing music and it's kind of open world. Like I mean I know that like it has a general direction it wants you to take, but like I didn't go. I think I did a couple of the temples out of order. Like, I think I was supposed to do the Shadow Temple before the Spirit Temple. I'm not sure. I just know Navi was yelling at me to go to one when I was doing the other. So, I don't think you're forced to do it in a certain way. I'm sure that there are some limitations based on the items you get, but still. But yeah, it just, I don't know, it felt kind of open world to me. And I feel like a lot of older games at that time were fairly linear in how they progress. Like even something like my favorite game, Super Mario RPG, is pretty linear. They don't really let you do stuff out of order. And same with things like Paper Mario, which obviously was also on the N64. Romomoka asked, if you were one day to have a horse of your own, would you name her Epona? Yes, but it would be officially pronounced Eponia, not Epona. Vice Valentine asked, simply, did you enjoy it? I remember you've played other games like Twilight Princess. Do you think this one is better? Also, where do you rank it so far, having played the games you've played of Zelda? So yes, I really, really did enjoy my playthrough. I was pretty worried, like I said at the beginning, I was pretty worried that I wouldn't enjoy going, quote, backwards, in the Zelda series, so to speak. I was a little worried that I was gonna start my playthrough and get bored or get stuck partway through, but I was pretty hooked after beating Dodongo Cavern. Like, I remember finishing a recording and being like, man, I don't want to stop playing. I want to keep going. It was really fun to just kind of like get back into that old style of Zelda games where like you had dungeons to beat and you had like, I don't know, a really catching story. Is that the word for it? Like a story that really hooks you. As for comparing the games, I don't think my own nostalgic bias will let me say that Ocarina of Time is like better or worse than Twilight Princess or Wind Waker. And I know that's gonna sound kind of like sappy or like a cop out, but it's true. Like, I really did enjoy all of those games for different reasons. And even though they're all Zelda games, it kind of feels like comparing apples to oranges for me. Like, I feel like they all have something special and unique about them that makes them stand out in their own ways. But it's been so long since I have played either Wind Waker or Twilight Princess. It's probably been like 10 years or more. And so in terms of ranking it, like for my personal favorites, I think I need to go back and replay some of the games again so that I can have them like fresher in my mind. I really loved being able to see how 3D Zeldas started, and it's gonna be fun to look at the newer games again through like a new lens, a new perspective. Maybe after I do another playthrough of those and play some of the more of the older games that I missed, because there's quite a few older ones and handheld games that I missed. Maybe then I could go and do like a whole tier list for the series of just, my personal opinion of how I'd rank them. So Michael Roy asked, I think they meant to say, is there it's so simple. How did I not see that moment? That really sticks out to me. Yes. The forest temple will forever scar me for missing that first stupid small key. I can't tell you how many times or how much time was spent looking all over the place for that stupid key. There was that moment, and the other one that like also scars me is in Jabu Jabu's belly with that box puzzle, not realizing that I needed to throw the box, or not throw it, I needed to set it down on top of the switch. And I feel like I overcomplicated that so hard. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just because I had future Zelda games in my head, so it caused me to like overthink things. I'm not sure, but both of those moments were painful. The second question that Michael asked was, does Navi deserve the hate she gets, in your opinion? I don't think so. I think people are a little too harsh on Navi. I didn't find her to be that annoying. If anything, I found her yelling at kind of funny moments. Like, she would be yelling when I'm like in the middle of trying, like I'm like really trying to concentrate on a boss fight, and she's like screaming at me. Like, I don't know. I didn't find her to be annoying or frustrating to deal with. I feel like that's kind of played up a bit, I suppose. It's been so long since I played Skyward Sword. I can't really speak that much for Fi or Fi, however you say it. I don't remember her being a favorite character of mine when I played, because I thought it was kind of weird that the Master Sword had a voice, but I don't know. That's another game that I need to go back and replay. Oh, and this also kind of answered Liam's question. What do you think of Navi as a companion compared to what you remember of the other companion roles? Yeah, like, I don't know. I thought Navi was great. I thought it was a very interesting use of the mechanic. Like, in order to explain like the targeting system, they used a fairy in order to show it, and I thought that was really cool. I think it was a good way to introduce Z targeting into the series. I'm trying to remember the other companions that Link would have had in other games. I know that like in Wind Waker, is the boat is the boat considered a companion? Because I thought he was like a mix of kind of creepy, but also kind of cool. Like, it's kind of weird that you have a talking boat, but he's also very knowledgeable. So, as for other companions, like things like Midna in Twilight Princess, I really like Midna. I like how sassy she is, and I mean, sometimes she's a little rude, but for the most part, I enjoy her personality. So I probably still like Minda a little more than Navi, but overall, like I said, I don't think Navi should get as much hate as she does. Lacius asked, "Do you plan to play other games that are similar to Ocarina of Time outside of the Zelda franchise?" I don't know what those games would be. I'm curious. Like I would be open to it for sure. And are there any other genres you plan to play in the future, like Metroidvanias? I have tried. I think I've tried one Castlevania game, and it felt overwhelming for me, like not having a very clear direction of where to go, like on the map and stuff. Like since it opened up all of the different map areas all at once, I was like, this is too much for me. I like having a map that shows me everything and then I choose where to go. So all that being said, I would be open to it. Like I'm really trying to be more open to the style of games I play, which is why I kind of played Ocarina of Time in the first place. When I got my 2023 year in review on Steam, and both for Nintendo, I had like 4 different games that I played the entire year. Like, I was like, that's so lame. Like, I've barely tried anything. And so that's what started the whole, you know what? Let me just give Ocarina of Time a chance. Like, who knows? What could go wrong? So, that being said, if you guys have any game series that you want me to play, chances are I haven't played it before because my gaming, what do you want to call it? Because my gaming preferences are usually pretty small. It's always been pretty limited to Nintendo games. Now, I will put a disclaimer, I'm not into horror games, so I probably won't play horror games. I said maybe we'll try one in October. I don't know. I'm not gonna make any promises. So, yeah. Lucius also asked, do you have any plans to revisit Ocarina of Time in the future or not? Be it to make a challenge run or just 100% your save file. I do want to go back and get some of the things that I missed. Like I'm assuming that there's more fires. Like we have Din's fire, but I know of Nehru and the green one. I know that there's probably items related to them, so I wouldn't mind going back and trying to find those types of things. And I don't think I ever went back to the Gerudo training ground, so I wouldn't mind going back and like exploring some of the side quests that I might have missed. As for a challenge run, maybe. I'm not normally somebody that 100% games or does challenges outside of my Mario Party speedrunning days. But I don't know. I don't want to say no to it. As for randomizers, probably not, just because I feel like I would need to know the game really well in order to enjoy something like that. And obviously just having finished it for the first time, I barely know it. So so yeah. So Big Player asked, what's your rank on worst to best Ocarina of Time dungeons? And what would be your top scary moments? Okay, so before I go into the dungeon, let's talk scary moments, okay? So my first scary moment would probably be like a multitude of moments. And that would be anytime I had to fight a boss as a child, like as Kid Link, like that was scary. Like I felt so wimpy and powerless, and like I just had a handful of like nuts and a little wimpy sword and a wooden shield to go and fight all these things. I felt like I was fighting giants. Like it was, I don't know, being put in an environment like that was pretty scary. And then the other one, or the other 2 moments, the second one would be fighting those, or well, I didn't end up fighting any of them, but those giant goblin things on your way to the forest temple. the things that would chase you down the maze, that genuinely made me jump like multiple times as I tried to navigate through it. 'Cause like, and it's so stupid because I knew it was coming. I knew they were gonna do it, but I guess I just didn't know when. And I'm just a very jumpy person, so that scared me. And then the last moment, which is actually one of my favorite moments, was when I stepped out of the Temple of Time for the first time as an adult and seeing the like apocalyptic looking sky with the ring of fire around the volcano. Like it was just such a like, oh my gosh kind of moment. Like, oh my gosh, Ganon did it kind of moment. Like it was pretty like I said, it was pretty eye-opening, and it was just an interesting change of pace to just video games in general, where you don't normally get to see the future where the bad guy takes over, where the bad guy won, you know? And being able to go into the future and see this image and see the castle town destroyed and full of zombies. Like that was genuinely a terrifying moment. But probably one of my favorite moments. I would include the well, because the well did kind of scare me, but at the same time, I was having so much fun exploring the well that like I wasn't that scared. It was more just like, oh, that's creepy, haha. But this is really fun, so I'm gonna keep moving. I don't know. Okay, and then the other part of the question was, how would I rate the dungeons? Like, what is my dungeon tier list? And I want to start off by saying this is not a S to D or E or F, I don't know, tier list. It's not a traditional tier list. This is my tier list of my personal enjoyment of the dungeons. Okay? Okay, let's just get it clear. My personal enjoyment, my personal preferences. Everybody has their own preferences. So let me just start out by slowly revealing it. In the first category, icky but difficult, is Jabu Jabu's belly. I didn't really enjoy this dungeon. It was a struggle for me, and it was also very hot in my room that day, so I was getting this kind of like real life experience. It was very hot and humid. I felt like I was in the fish while I was playing this, and it was not a good experience. The next category is simple but fun, which I didn't find them to be too difficult. I didn't really run into that many issues, but I thought they were fun. The first one being like inside the Deku Tree. Obviously, this is a opening like tutorial type dungeon. I think it's fine that it's simple. I struggled. I'm glad that it's like the dungeon itself and the puzzles are simple, because I struggled enough with just the controls to make it hard. That boss fight was rough. But yeah, otherwise not much else to say about the Fire Temple or the Ice Cavern. I like the Ice Cavern just because I enjoyed sliding puzzles. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was pretty fun. But it wasn't overly complicated. The next category is struggled, but still an enjoyable experience. And in that, it would be the Forest Temple, for the fact that the small keys ruined me. I didn't enjoy that part of it, but I enjoyed the rest of the temple quite a bit. I just had a lot of backtracking and running around because I got horribly stuck. But that's my fault. That's not the temple's fault. Also with the Fire Temple, or not Fire Temple, with the Dongo's Cavern, we're not going to talk about my struggle to understand the clue. Instead, we're not going to talk about it. We're going to rewatch it together. And I don't know how I missed the bridge. Like, I don't know why I was so focused on the moving platform, but I missed the bridge. Like, it's such an obvious part of it. I'm like, it's so painful to watch back. The red explosions, because I assume I'm just gonna throw a bomb. Like, I walked towards the bridge and then I walked away. I'm so sorry. At the skull. But I don't know if it has to be anywhere specific. Oh, they just go. Oh my gosh, wait. Did that work? No. That
No,
didn't
it
work.
did
I'm gonna
not
run out of
work.
bombs. Trying to figure this out.
I did actually almost run out of bombs.
Unless
It
I'm
was
just...
so bad.
Gosh.
Can I get points for creativity at least?
Stop! Am I supposed to roll it down his forehead? No.
I mean, that was a good
I'm gonna
idea.
go through all of my bombs figuring this out. I wonder if I just missed. Did it...
Okay, yeah, we've seen enough. Next are creative puzzles, and it was very fun. It was a very fun experience. And in this category, I include the Spirit Temple, the Shadow Temple, the training grounds, even though I know I technically didn't finish it. I finished it most of the way. It's fine. And the water temple. I really enjoyed all of these places. I thought they had very fun and creative puzzles. Like, I really liked how they utilized your equipment and how they made you think. So I don't know. It was a lot of fun to go through all of these. And then last, although you probably already know, Dinny! The 10 out of 10 would play through again, although I'd play through any of them again, if I'm honest, is both the well and Ganon's castle. I really like how Ganon's castle kind of like bundled everything together, even though some of the puzzles didn't quite line up with the dungeons. I learned that that's probably because they were from like beta versions or something like that, or the castle was designed first and then the temple second. I don't know. Either way, it was fun. I really enjoyed going through it and kind of going through a little walk down memory lane. And then the well, which I have talked about many times being one of my favorite things, just because of how I stumbled across it. Like, it just was a complete tone shift from the rest of the game and what I knew about the game. I didn't know that there was going to be any sort of like kind of dark, scarier parts to it. And I also just thought I was going to drop down into a well and get a treasure and then leave and be on with my day. So the fact that it just kept going and going, and I genuinely had no idea what was going on, like, it was so fun. It just caught me by surprise, very much by surprise, and I really, really enjoyed it. Okay, well, I think that that answers all of the questions and kind of gives a good overview of my thoughts and feelings of the game. If you guys have any more, I mean, I'll be streaming more in the future, so I mean, feel free to stop by and ask. I'd be happy to talk about it more. But thanks so much for watching and listening. And yes, Majora's, I forgot the biggest question of all. Yes, Majora's Mask will be coming up next. So keep an eye out for that. But until then, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.